Customization is the process of enabling or disabling a TwinSAFE group in an active project. There are three ways to deactivate a group: permanent deactivation, temporary deactivation, and passivation. So, what's the difference? Permanent deactivation of a TwinSAFE group is generally used for modular machines where different combinations are possible. If an omitted option is added later, the group and associated hardware are easily activated. Temporary deactivation is only used during commissioning. Examples include temporary deactivation of not yet installed guard doors or light curtains. This allows engineers to continue commissioning or training a machine with missing components. To avoid inadvertently leaving a safety function deactivated, the group is restarted following a power cycle. Passivation accommodates a removable pendant or control station with a single FSOE connection, such as an emergency stop. Contrary to deactivation, once a control station has been passivated, it must be physically disconnected from the control system before the specified timeout elapses. This prevents an operator from mistakenly assuming a safety function, such as an emergency stop, is active. Each TwinSafe group may be configured to allow any combination of customization options. So let's take a look at how to do one of these. Permanent deactivation is the most common customization setting that I see used, so that's the one that I'm going to demonstrate today. First, let's take a look at the hardware setup that I have here. First, I have what I would consider my primary rack, which is an EK1100, and then I have some safety IO here, an EL6910 controller, an EL1904 input card, and EL2904 output card. Then on my remote rack, or a module of my machine, I have another EK1914. And on board, I've got two inputs and a safe output. So this is going to be the modular section of my machine in this example. Now let's take a look at the TwinCat project. First, I've got my EK1100 here and associated IO, and my EK1914 hanging off of that. I've already created a TwinSafe project up here and an error acknowledge and run bit that I'm going to toggle from this process image. Now, if I go ahead and put my sunglasses on, you can see we're connected to the project. I'm going to set my run bit to true. And what we have here is we're looking at the two contacts off of the back of this e-stop right here, and they're going into local input 1 and local input 2. So if I release the button, both of those inputs go true and my contactor turns on. Now, obviously, this is not a real e-stop circuit. Don't use safety programming like this. Make sure you're using good programming practices. I just want to show you how the communication moves and how the customization settings work. So let's go ahead and add in our remote machine right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go offline and I'm going to set my sync units. So underneath my EtherCAT master, I'm going to go under the sync units and I'm going to add a new sync unit. I'm going to say local. And I'm going to choose every card that's local to the machine. So go through here. And that's going to be my local sync unit. Now I'll add another sync unit and I'll call that remote. I'm going to choose my EK1914 in any of the IO hanging off of that. Now, if I'm going to do more with sync units and more groups, I'm going to want to make this more granular, but just for the sake of showing that this is a remote machine, as one sync unit, the local machine is going to be the first sync unit. So we're going to just deal with a total of 2 sync units in this example. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an additional group. I'm going to say TwinSafe group with pre-configured inputs. And let's just go ahead and name this remote. So here's my remote group right here. First, my error acknowledge my run bit. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to tie these to the same bits that I'm using for the other group. Acknowledge. And run. So this run and this run are both tied together. Error acknowledge, same thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an alias device. I'm going to import it. I'm just going to use this EK1914. And now inside of our safety application language worksheet, I'm going to add a very, very simple and block in one, in two. And now I could tie this to a global variable that I use through my entire project. I'm going to go ahead and link it directly to the other block, just to basically draw a line between the two groups. I'm going to change this over to change the link. I'm going to double click, and now I'm going to go back to TwinSAFE group one, network one, that FB and block, and I want to connect to and three. Now, I could have taken both of these inputs and passed them through, but that's really unnecessary redundancy that you're passing through. We're already dealing with the and here. So if I have local safety functions that I'm dealing with here, I really just want to pass that information back to the group that needs it that's required. So let's keep it as simple as possible. So now we're going to set the group to be able to be customized. So I'm going to click in the white space and then click on properties, and we can see up here passivation, permanent deactivation, and temporary deactivation. I'm going to go ahead and set permanent deactivation for true. Now it's not actually deactivating, it's just going to allow us to deactivate this group. So now that we're true, I'm going to change my variable mapping, and where we normally set all of our variables right here, we're going to grab our input channel 1 on our EK1914, channel 2. Now we're going to set the replacement value. So basically, any output that links to another group, it can't be an output that links to hardware. It has to go to another group. It has to then be used somewhere else, because we're not going to deactivate a group and just have hardware turn on. So in this case, we want our replacement value to be true. So if this group is deactivated, this hardware is not available, it's not around, we still want to be able to run the rest of our machine. And if this module is then maybe purchased in the future, we'll turn it back on. We'll reactivate this group. So now we're going to say OK. And back at our original TwinSAFE group right here, you can see that we've made that connection right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and download this. Now, I'm going to pause for just a second from our fast forward and show you I'm getting another screen on our download. I could customize the project at this point, so I can customize at download. So if I hit the little wrench right here, we can see that my remote group is now showing as customizable. And what I have available is I can either uh, activate or I can deactivate permanently. And you can kind of see the difference, see the passivate and temporary or deactivate temporarily here are both grayed out. I can't select those, but I could deactivate permanently right on download and set that replacement value. But we're not going to do that. We're going to change this in just a moment. So first, I'm going to go ahead and leave it activated, and we're going to finish. And because I've added in extra stuff, I've changed mapping. I need to activate the configuration. Now I'm going to go to my remote SAL, and we can see our two switches right here, and it's tied in right here to this switch. So this switch right here is tied to the two inputs on the EK1914 right here. So let's put these groups in run. So our remote SAL is in run, and our local SAL is in run. Now, if I bring those true, we can see the two coming in through the AND block, and then our virtual line over to the other group, we see it as true. Now, the only customization setting that can be changed while the groups are in run is passivation. And that's because what we're doing is we're passivating the group, and then we're expecting to actually pull a connection within a period of time, because we want that remote hardware to be disconnected so that there's no confusion that it, for an e-stop, for example, is still active and part of the system. Generally, we're going to put our safety system into stop. We'll do the customization, and then we'll put it back into run. So let's see how that works. Now, I showed you the screen for when we would do it during download, but we can also customize using the little wrench up top here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my groups into stop. So I'm going to turn the run bit off and turn off our sunglasses. And then we're going to jump down to the target system and we're going to copy the serial number. Now we'll hit the little wrench up here. And where we were active on our remote group, we're now going to deactivate permanently using the checkbox there. Now we're going to put our sunglasses back on. First, we're going to drop these two contacts to false so we kind of see everything come up together. I'm going to put the group into run. And you can see remote network 1, FB and 1, that virtual line that we created is coming in as true. Now, if I go to that remote group, you can see the group state is deactive. But in our variable mapping, we can see that we've set a replacement value of true for that output. So even if this goes false, we're still going to see that true out. Now, generally, you're not going to have this hardware. If you're doing permanent deactivation, it wouldn't even be there. So let's make that true as well. So we're going to disconnect this, and we didn't break anything because we're in separate sync units. If we go and look at what's going on in device 2 online, we can see we're in op, but we say, hey, there's a link missing because our EK1914 just dropped out. It's not there. Now we're going to want to do other things in our programming other than just the safety to actually not have this hardware there and make sure that the rest of our project is operating. But hopefully you can see what we're getting from the safety side. So our remote is showing true, we're deactivated. Our TwinSAFE group 1, we're getting a true in from that deactivated group. And now if I set the other two contacts as true, our contactor has now turned on. Now, the final way that's worth mentioning of how you can customize your groups, you can also use the TwinSAFE loader for this application. What we do is we actually set up a little table within a CSV file to say, hey, is passivation, is it supposed to be passivated? Is it supposed to be permanently deactivated, temporarily deactivated? And then we'll use the loader to basically reference lines inside of that CSV from, maybe from the HMI or something like that to customize these objects. So 3 ways to customize. We can either do it on download, we can use the little wrench on the toolbar, or we can use the loader. Hopefully you found this tutorial on customization settings helpful in your TwinSAFE workflow.